absolute value inequalities. So last time we talked about absolute value equations. Today we're going to talk about absolute value inequalities. Remember, the only difference between an equation and an equality is just that symbol. It turns from an equal sign to a inequality, like less than, greater than, and so on and so forth. So if it's greater than, that means your inequality would look like this. So you would write these two separate equations separated by the word or. So think of it as greater, and you use the word or. However, when it is less than, it's in between because it's smaller. So when it's less than, you write it in between. So again, if it's smaller, it's and. You shade the middle when you graph. If it's more than or, you shade the outsides. So more is or. Remember, more than or greater than, it's or. Hopefully that helps. So for this one, what inequality do we have? We have a greater than sign. I shouldn't have put that there, but it's a greater than sign. So that means it's or. So we're going to write 4x plus 5 is less than negative 13, or 4x plus 5 is greater than positive 13. So it's similar to last time. You do have a negative version and a positive version. You're always going to be smaller than the negative version, but greater than the larger version. I mean, greater than the positive, sorry. And then solve it like we've done in the past. So I'm going to subtract 5 in both instances. When I subtract 5 on the left, I would be left with 4x is less than negative 18. On the right, I would have 4x is greater than 8. And then we divide both sides by 4. And on the left, we're left with x is less than negative 4 doesn't go into 18 evenly, but however, both of them are even numbers. So you divide both by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So 9 halves, which is the same thing as negative 4.5. On the right, if I divide 4 on both sides, 4 does go into 8 evenly 2 times. So the solution is x is less than negative 4.5 or x is greater than 2. So then when you graph it, it would look like so. You would have an open dot on negative 4.5 and an open dot on positive 2 because the equal bar, remember, is not there. And then when it's less than, you shade to the left of the dot. When it's greater than, you shade to the right of the dot. So on example 2, we have a less than or equal to. So it's smaller, so that means it's in between. So we're going to put negative 9 less than or equal to 2x plus 1 less than or equal to positive 9. So when it's less than, you put it in between, and we're going to shade in between. Now the objective is to get x by itself in the middle, like we've done in the past, but now we got 3 sides to manipulate. So we're going to subtract 1 from the middle to remove the 1, but then that means we subtract 1 from negative 9 and positive 9 as well. So negative 9 minus 1 is negative 10. You're left with 2x in the middle. And then 9 minus 1 is positive 8. And now, to get x by itself, I need to divide by 2 in the middle, but that means divide everything by 2. So I'm left with negative 5 is less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4. Don't forget the rules when you divide or multiply by a negative, that the symbol, the inequality, flips over. But that's not the case right now because I divided by positive 2. But had it been a negative 2, I would be changing all these less thans to greater than. So my solution is negative 5 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4. So when I graph it, I'm going to have two closed dots this time on negative 5 and positive 4, and we're going to shade in between. Number 3 wants us to write and solve the absolute value inequality, then graph the solution. Amanda is apartment hunting in a specific area. She discovers that the average monthly rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is $800, but the actual price could differ from the average as much as $225 a month. So very similar to how we did the equation section. We need our to set it up as x minus the central, the absolute value of x minus the central, and then we need our symbol, and then our range. So it's either less than or greater than, and then we write our range. Okay? So in this situation, it says average, that's your central, is 800. So that's C. And then it says actual price could differ as much as 225. So that's your range, R. So we're going to use less than in this scenario because we don't want to spend more than what is required of us. So we're going to have the absolute value of x minus 800 is less than 225. So that's the inequality. Now we're going to solve it. And again, to solve it, when it is less than, that means it's a between version. So we're going to write negative 225 less than x minus 800 less than positive 225. And now we get x by itself in the middle by adding 800 to the middle and to each end. So I'm left with x in the middle. On the end, I'm going to have 1025 on the positive end down here. And on this side, it should be 575. So you could spend anywhere from $575 to $1,025 on rent in this particular area. That's what's going on in this scenario. And this concludes your notes for the lesson.